Pages.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
And if you go through CAT, that means CAT at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie. I am Ben, in person together for one more hour up until 11 a.m. Eastern time, in plenty to preview, including Game 5 tonight of the Eastern Conference Finals between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. New York with its season on the brink, at home inside Madison Square Garden. Can they extend this series and stave off elimination, or will the Pacers, as they have done oftentimes throughout this playoff run, and certainly here in the Eastern Conference Finals, win outright as a road underdog? Plenty to discuss. We hear from you about this very subject in a matter of moments. The prop perspective with TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid here in this third and final hour on a Thursday as well, and some MLB previews to break down. DRS, plenty to get to here in this third and final hour.
Absolutely, and also big changes could be made tonight depending on which way this game goes, which includes the New York Knicks getting knocked out. Now, is there a difference between them getting knocked out in 5, 6, or 7, losing in the Eastern Conference Finals? I think there is. You lose in 5 games in your own building, there will be changes. You extend this to 6 or 7, hey, you know what? We haven't got here in a long time. Building blocks, the team's just learning how to play together. A lot of new pieces will take it into the next season. That's what's on the line tonight in Madison Square Garden, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about that in hour number 3.
It is a good point, DRS.
Yeah.
And I think we should have that discussion here after we hear from the people. If they get bounced in a gentleman's sweep, despite having home floor advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals, having gotten through the Boston Celtics, not needing to beat the number 1 seed in the Cavaliers to reach an NBA Finals for the first time this millennium, does it change things because of how abruptly it came to a close for the future? Do the Knicks make changes to the roster? And maybe the coaching staff and head coach Tom Thibodeau. But before we get to all of that, will the season even come to a close for the Knicks at home tonight? Will Indiana earn a spot in the NBA Finals? Will we have a long break before Game 1 on June 5th with 2 consecutive nights of teams pulling off a gentleman's sweep and a spot in the championship series? That was the question to all of you. What's the best bet in Fade the Public? At SportsGrid on Twitter, what is the best bet for tonight's Pacers versus Knicks game? In DRS, this is where Fade the Public really comes in handy. Your four options, of course. The Knicks as a 4-point home favorite. Indiana as the underdog on the road inside Madison Square Garden as well. Over 223 or under that total. In an overwhelming amount of the public, 4 options given, more than 50% of the updated vote, backing Indiana as the road underdog. Pacers +4, of course. They have won outright in each of the first 2 games inside the Garden in this series. DRS, are you fading the public?
I'm actually shocked by the way this vote has gone. Not the fact that the Pacers actually are the favorites at 50%. It's that the New York Knicks -4 is 21.7%. So let's just call it 22%. That's what I'm shocked by, because you do look to the public, which typically does like favorites, and also in their own building in a must-win situation, and say what's not to like. But the public is so far gone here on the Pacers, which you can't fault them. They've been the better team all the way through, and they have a chance to close out in 5 games when many thought maybe when the series started, game number 5 at Madison Square Garden, with the Knicks closing out the Indiana Pacers. They've been great here, but now we're taking a look at that huge separation. We'll get to the total in just a moment, but just a 22% to 50%, I'm shocked it's that wide of a margin. I went with the Knicks at the -4 here at 21.7. So if you're into just fading the public and how that works out, I think I'm sitting in a really good spot at this point, because I thought it would be so much closer from the public, at least evening it out slight a bit.
I would completely agree, DRS. I'm a little bit surprised, not necessarily in terms of the betting stats and where they are right now. I think it's easy for the public to look at the odds and see Indiana as a 4-point underdog again and just think the odds makers have this wrong. It should be a pick'em.
Yep.
The Pacers, heck, might even be a road favorite. Of course, that's not how it works based on the power ratings, the algorithms, and the models that substantiate these numbers based on the overall sample size, not just what we have seen here in the Eastern Conference Finals. But 62% of the money backing Indiana on the spread as the road underdog tonight. 72% of the overall volume of bets backing Indiana as the road underdog tonight inside the Garden. More than 50% of our Fade the Public poll thinking the Pacers are the right side. That is a little bit surprising to me. Is it justified? Of course. Indiana is 6-1 outright on the road in this playoff run. They have been an underdog in all 7 of those games. They have won each of the first 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals on the road in New York inside Madison Square Garden. And DRS, the Pacers, as we have detailed a numerous amount of times, are a sensational underdog all throughout this NBA campaign. In this playoff run, they have been booked as a dog 9 times. They are 7-2 outright throughout the regular season and the postseason included. 22-18 outright as an underdog. One of 2 teams around the NBA with a winning record above 500 as an underdog straight up. And the other is the team already in the NBA Finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And they've only been a dog 3 total times this year. 2-1, the straight up record for OKC. 22-18 is that mark for Indiana. So, no, it's not surprising if the Pacers win outright as a 4-point road dog tonight. But it doesn't necessarily feel like there should be this large of a betting edge favoring the Pacers in this moment as the underdog.
And maybe the Knicks being a little bit of a defeatist strategy, saying like, look, we're going to try to put on the best we can on home court, but we still got to win 3 straight games here to knock off the Pacers before we even get to the NBA Finals. Sometimes you're just looking psychologically. That's just such a tough mountain to climb. And starting off the show talking about Tom Thibodeau post-game press conference after the last game saying, I have to try to convince these guys, like, we can still win the series. You just can't win it all at once at this point. You got to take your time. It's play by play. I think you say quarter by quarter, half by half, game by game, and then you find yourself in a game number 7, and hopefully you can win that. But also taking a look at the New York Knicks coming into tonight, full gas expected, but Karl-Anthony Towns is a game-time decision. Right. Expectations are Karl-Anthony Towns is going to play, but if you look at one of their better players that's dinged up and injured before you even start the game, that's going to feed into it as well, because you don't have flukes here. It's not a fluke that the Pacers are up 3-1 in this series right now. They're the better team. And there's no fluke that's saying, hey, the Knicks can easily win the next 3 games. No, they can't. Otherwise, they would have done that already at this point. And then again, to have Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit banged up to start this game, if he's not full gas, then it does just have to be on Brunson and Mikal Bridges and the rest of the crew there. So surprising to me that the New York Knicks are the favorites in this game? No. Surprising to me is the poll that says that everybody, it feels like, is just backing the Pacers as an easy victor tonight on the road in the Garden.
2 games over, 2 games under in this series. Games 1 and 4 skying over their pregame total. 219 in a hook. That closing number for Game 4 in Indy. Our lowest so far, the Eastern Conference Finals. We saw 251 points combined in that game. Should be noted, yesterday the least amount selected by the public, and considerably so, as we are seeing here, fewer than 8% on the under last night of 220 and a hook in the closeout game for OKC. Did stay under by about a bucket. 223 the total tonight. The under 7.8% of the vote at this moment. We'll get to the props later with Tom Vecchio. He will provide that prop perspective in full. I want to hit on something you mentioned here. If the Knicks are closed out tonight in 5, does it change the job status of Tom Thibodeau at the end of this series?
100%. And again, you are hired to be fired, but also understand this. The expectations of the Knicks winning a championship would have been much different. Hey, man, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, couldn't beat the Celtics, lost in 6 games in the Garden. We'll try to get it next year. Like, no, after you beat the Celtics, this is your year. Maybe not to win it all, but to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I don't think the Knicks can look at this season as a success, even though they finally made the Eastern Conference Finals, if it's a loss to the Pacers and embarrassing in Game 5 in your own building.
Would it change if they lost in Game 6 in
It
Indianapolis?
might, yes. I do think it changes.
I also would agree with you, the idea of maybe questioning Tibbs leading this organization. If you can't get past this Eastern Conference Finals, already getting through the Celtics. A short MLB card on this Thursday. We break it down next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
We welcome you back to the early line live right here on this Thursday in person in studio. Deuces up, no unidentified pink substances for us here on this Thursday. We break down a short Major League Baseball card that was expanded ever so slightly, DRS, based on, as you told us, an excellent forecaster, a postponed day in Philadelphia. We hope to play 2 today in the city of brotherly love between the Phils and the Braves. Game number 1, a slight change in starting pitcher for what was the presumed matchup yesterday with A.J. Smith-Shawver on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. But instead of matching up against Zach Wheeler, who will go in game number 2 against Chris Sale, it's Christopher Sanchez getting the start today for Philadelphia.
Usually you would say to yourself, like, well, why would you even move out? Why wouldn't you just have that first game here and throw Zach Wheeler and go up 2-0 in the series? And it doesn't matter if you lose the final game, you still picked up a game in the series. Well, here's the great problem at the Philadelphia Phillies. Everybody they throw is a great pitcher this season for them, and every single option you have is a great option. So if you can win with Christopher Sanchez, and mind you, they're close to a minus 150 favorite in game number 1, then the slight favorite in game number 2. Why? Because then you have Chris Sale versus Zach Wheeler, and they're still a favorite in that game. So theoretically, if you're just playing the odds, the Phillies should sweep the entire series, but we know how doubleheaders work. One team is going to win. Second-hand team that loses game number 1 throws all in for game number 2. So I like the way the Phillies are playing it, going, okay, we're going to win game number 1 with Sanchez on the mound because he's better than Smith-Shawver and we're a better baseball team. They go, must win in game number 3. We're going to throw our best pitcher out here to absolutely demoralize you for the rest of the season. This could play out perfectly for the Philadelphia Phillies, but if you would have told me, Ben, coming into this series, the Phillies would take 2 out of 3 games from the Atlanta Braves and extend it to what, 9.5 games back? That's exactly what the Phillies wanted. An absolute meltdown for the Braves if they come into the series and get swept, which they're staring at right now because they're not favored in either one of these games.
Yeah, and the Phils playing a really good brand of baseball as of late. And to Donnie's point, Christopher Sanchez is not Zach Wheeler, perhaps, but he is still 4-1 this year with a 3.17 ERA, and he gives up some runs during his outings. He's not going to blank everybody every time, but he's only had 1 start this year where he's allowed more than 3 earned, which, of course, is going to keep his
really
team
good at home
in every single baseball game in the home road splits, as DRS mentioned. He is really good at the bank. What are we looking at weather-wise today in Philadelphia?
70 degrees, no rain in the forecast. Should be cleared out certainly by game time. Some mist and some light rain was this morning in the Philadelphia area. Light winds, so whether they're blowing in or out at this point won't have any difference. We should get 2 really clean games out here with no excuses.
And so what do you predict happens in this doubleheader? Always difficult to sweep a team in a doubleheader, even if your ace is starting that finale against the other team's ace and the reigning NL Cy Young winner in Chris Sale. Do we see a split today, or will one team sweep?
Well, the question here is, let's just say the Phillies in game number 1 pick up a victory. Then you say, okay, well, it's your best pitcher, Zach Wheeler, on the mound. Hear me out on this, because it's not really the strategy that you want to focus on and say, look, well, that's the way you should go. Just split it, and it doesn't matter who's pitching, because that's a great pitching matchup. But Chris Sale being on the mound, he's been really good this season, and was great last year winning the Cy Young. But the Phillies have really hit left-handed pitching well. So usually you'd see like a Chris Sale, they're going to completely shut down the Phillies lineup. Well, it's not as if the Philadelphia Phillies had a great game in game number 1, only scoring 2 runs there and getting 1 late on a walk from the bullpen with the bases loaded. But here's the issue, though. Like, Zach Wheeler has been so good. Like, how do you play this? Game number 1, I do think the Phillies win because they have a bigger advantage with the pitchers on the mound as opposed to game number 2, even though I told you it's Zach Wheeler. But when I look at game number 2, it just feels to me like that's 2 pitchers understanding what's on the line between both franchises, where I would just play that game to the under. Game number 1, I would go Phillies money line. Game number 2, even though, hey, Zach Wheeler at home with the Phillies, they should win that anyway. That's more of an underplay for me.
8 is the total for the opening game of 2 today, starting a little bit after 1 p.m. Eastern time in Philadelphia. Game number 2 scheduled for 6:46 p.m. Eastern time. That total 7.5. Outside of the 2 in Philly today, only 3 other games, DRS, to break down. And again, we have talked about the importance of this midweek set in late May. What's the big deal with where we are right now in the MLB campaign? Nearly a third of the way through. In fact, a little bit more than a third of the way through here. The Atlanta Braves enter today's doubleheader in Philadelphia. 25-28, 3 games below 500. If there is any life in the division, you really got to start to make some moves right now. If there is any life for Atlanta at all, DRS, of being an NL postseason team, you really got to start to turn it around. Late May, early June, deeper into the summer. It is why the Braves have been placed on fork watch. We go to another game today out in Houston, the Astros, and the Rays in what is a basic pick'em, with Houston having a slight home edge. -116, the updated numbers on that money line. Total now up by a hook, 8.5 for today's game between Tampa and Houston. What do you like here in the H-Town Showdown?
One of my favorite pitchers in Major League Baseball on the mound, Ryan Mucho Gusto. You got to like that guy. And why do you like him? His last 70 batters that he's faced, guys, check this out. A 281 ISO power number against. A weighted on-base percentage of 435 against. And you'll love this. A walk rate of 17%.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. Like a terrible walk rate for a pitcher is like 9%. He's double that at this point. And usually you say to yourself, okay, Tampa Bay doesn't have great baseball, great hitters per se. Mm-hmm. Well, those numbers have really jumped up this year. Why? Because they're actually playing a ballpark that allows for hits and home runs. Now, they're not there today. They're in Houston. But that's still a great hitter's ballpark, even though it is a dome, and we don't get the heat and humidity in there. Look at the first 5 batters anticipated to go up against Gusto today, who's a right-handed batter. 36 at-bats, 71, 57, 66, and 62. A really good feel. 212, 270, 204, 180, and 213. Those are the ISO power numbers against right-handed pitching. Look at the weighted on-base percentages. 358, 420, 348, 375, and 324. For me, it's simple. It's a little bit juicy. Yeah. Team total over with the Tampa Bay Rays today at 3.5. It was coming in this morning around like a -150, -145 price on FanDuel. I think it makes a lot of sense there where you're saying, I don't know if they can win, but you better be getting 4 runs off my guy Mucho Gusto out there.
I don't mean to yuck your yum or to harp on anything for you. I do think it is pronounced Gusto.
It doesn't matter what he says.
Right, so
it doesn't matter.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there
he's Gusto.
so we understand that it's Gusto, but we call him Mucho Gusto here. Ryan Mucho Gusto. The Rays playing pretty good baseball as of late. They've won 7 of their last 8, including the rubber match, to end out their home midweek series against Minnesota. Today in Houston starts a 4-game midweek set. They also played the Astros at home in Tampa last week, took the final 2 games of that set to win it. The Astros have won 4 in a row. They only played the A's twice in the middle of this week. They won both. They have won 5 of their last 6. So a pretty good matchup today with Ryan Mucho Gusto. On the bump for Houston. The other 2 games we have as a part of this short Thursday slate next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
So again, just a short 5-game slate in Major League Baseball, but only 8 teams in action because of the 2 that we are playing today at the bank in Philadelphia. Let's head out to the Northwest. A series comes to a close between the Mariners and the Nationals tonight. Seattle, a home favorite, minus 120 on that money line. Total stands at 7.5. M's, Nats, the rubber match, DRS, of this midweek series. What's the play?
Yeah, surprising last night. I thought the Mariners would be able to do a little bit of damage at the plate. They weren't able to do that. Mackenzie Gore will be on the mound today as a left-handed pitcher. Struggles more with lefties than he does righties, which is usually an interesting anomaly. But also, take a look at some of these batters in the lineup for the Seattle Mariners tonight. That includes Julio Rodriguez and also Cal Raleigh. 36 at-bats and 35 combats, each one of those guys, over the past month against left-handed pitching. How about Cal Raleigh, who will bat from the right-hand side tonight? A .515 ISO power number and a .565 weighted on-base percentage. The guy is actually, 18, 19 home runs, I believe, on the season, right up there near the tops in Major League Baseball. He's been fantastic. Sometimes you lose sight of that being in the Pacific Northwest. Julio Rodriguez, 36 at-bats against lefties over the past month. How about a .371 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of .411? Those 2 guys make sense for some RBI props. But flip it over to the other side. 2 of my favorite batters in that Washington lineup go 1-2 as lefties. That's C.J. Abrams and James Wood. You take a look at Emerson Hancock on the mound. 180 batters he's faced in the season, but I want to focus on his last 30 days, and particularly to lefties. He's faced 127 total batters, 49 of those from the left-hand side, and Hancock is a right-handed pitcher. Look at these ISO power numbers. .333, weighted on base percentage, .444, strikeout rate, only 14% to lefties. You look at the first 2 guys, as I said, Abrams and Wood, 82 at-bats and 74 bats, respectively, here against right-handed bats over the past 30 days. A .222 ISO for Abrams and a .234 weighted on base percentage here for James Wood. One of those guys also going to do damage. So instead of saying to myself, which side do I think wins this game? I think if you go RBI prop Rodriguez, RBI prop Raleigh, and then come back with Abrams and Wood, you're probably going to get 2 of those 4 players to get an RBI tonight. And if not, maybe a home run or 2 from those guys.
DRS, you're not lying about Big Dumper. That's Cal Raleigh. He has 19 home runs this year. That's the lead in the American League. Of course, only 1 dinger shy of Shohei Ohtani. Big Dumper, that is his legitimate nickname. He is an absolute stud out there, Cal Raleigh, for the Seattle Mariners, who have struggled a little bit, DRS, here as of late. They lost 3 of 4 in their weekend series against divisional foe in the Houston Astros. They entered today in the series finale against the Nats with only a half-game lead. They won the first, scoring 9 runs. Cal Raleigh had 2 home runs in that game to get to 19. They did lose the second game of the series yesterday. The Astros 30-25. The Mariners 30-24. We could see a change in the divisional lead depending on the results today, both in Houston and, of course, this rubber match in the series finale in Seattle. A weekend series begins up in the 6th in Toronto between the Blue Jays and the A's. Total 8.5. Toronto with Jose Barrios on the bump, DRS, a minus 162 now. So the odds working in their favor. Home money line favorite. The Blue Jays did take 2 of 3 this week against the Texas Rangers, but still a game under 500. Trying to use this weekend set to get above 500 and maybe somebody, if anybody, providing any glimpse of a test to the New York Yankees.
Yeah, probably leaning more towards an under in this game. The reason so, you take a look at the Blue Jays, who do have some guys with some above-average ISO power numbers and weighted on-base percentages against left-handed pitchers, who will be Jacob Lopez. Only 66 total batters he's faced on the season. But get this, like Guerrero's high, Springer's high, Clement's high, which means they're all right-handed batters. You say, okay, that makes sense. Left-handed pitcher, right-handed batters, that's probably where he struggles. But just looking at some of the totals, 52 batters he's faced this season, 0.67 ISO against and a 3.05 weighted on base percentage. If you take those numbers from full season and take them down to the last 30 days, it's an 0.94 ISO and a 3.09 weighted on base percentage to right-handed batters. So as much as you like Vladdy and Springer and Clement, you say, all right, the numbers really don't pan out because look at the rest of the roster here. You're not even going to get a single left-handed batter anticipated in the lineup today going up against the these A's starter at this point. So I go under. You flip it over to the other side. Jose Barrios is on the mound. Quality pitcher, but it actually has struggled against left-handed batters. But again, tonight, only possibly 3 left-handed batters. The one guy that I do expect to do some damage at the top of the lineup, we want to take him for maybe a base hit, maybe for a run, an RBI, or even a home run, it's Lawrence Butler. 81 at-bats against right-handed pitching, over the past 30 days. A 389 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 263. He'll probably get 4 to 5 at-bats tonight, but everybody else in that lineup leaves a lot to be desired here. More leaning towards an under than anything in this game.
A 4-game set where Toronto tried to get off to a good start with Jose Barrios on the bump. PRS, the Blue Jays right now a game below 500. The Rays are a game above 500. Really, everybody else in the American League East is struggling outside of the New York Yankees, fiddling around 500. Right now, the Yanks, who have played great baseball, winning 16 of their last 20, have already opened up a 7-game lead for the top spot in the division. TV Tom up next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
And if you go through CAT, that means CAT at 11-1. Could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I really feel DRS. We're just keeping the seats warm for our next guest coming on the show. That's TV Tom Vecchio, a man that sits right here each and every weekend on the SportsGrid network throughout the NBA postseason, but of course, providing us that prop perspective on this Thursday on the early line. TV Tom, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I will be, of course, in studio on Saturday with Kevin and Coach JY going over all things NBA, getting ready for the NBA draft. We have a potential closeout game tonight in both the NBA and the NHL. I'm ready to go.
We had a closeout game in each spot last night as well. Tom Vecchio, the Oklahoma City Thunder, victorious in only 5 games in the Western Conference Finals in the association. The Florida Panthers continue their title defense of Lord Stanley's Cup, winning in only 5 games in the Eastern Conference Final to advance to the Cup Final for a 3rd straight season. We'll talk about all of that here on this Thursday on TEL. Let's start in the NBA. Game 5 last night in Oklahoma City. The Thunder, for a 2nd consecutive series-clinching victory, win it by at least 30 points, 124-94. The 30-point win last night for OKC in Game 5 against Minnesota, pulling off the gentleman's sweep. There was a lot to like last night, Vecchio, about OKC's closeout performance. What impressed you most?
What impressed me most is that they were able to continue that from Game 4. You know, going into last night's game, my takeaways essentially were from Game 4 is like, listen, Minnesota tried to hit him with the haymaker, and they threw that punch, and OKC took it on the chin and just kept walking right at him. Like, that was the best shot for Minnesota. And as soon as that happened, you knew that the series was over. Like, there was no shot Minnesota was going to be able to respond and do that again in an away environment where OKC has just been utterly dominant this year. Like, that's what it has been. And when you look at it, like, we should have seen this coming. I thought about it for a second yesterday. I was like, man, I should have played OKC like, minus 12.5 or something, like taking some type of alt spread, because when they were 10-point favorites, they're winning by 15 or 20. When they're 18-point favorites, they're winning by 30. That's what we consistently saw from them throughout the regular season. Now, I don't expect that to happen going into the NBA Finals. They may win a game by 10 or 12 points here or there, but to win by 30 multiple times throughout the playoffs is absolutely unbelievable. And I saw a stat this morning. They have the highest ATS record, or the best ATS record for a team going to the finals in NBA history. It's unbelievable what they've done this season.
It has been, and also a 30-point win in a closeout situation at home. Home court advantage does mean something to OKC. They've been absolutely dominant at that point, but also extending into the NBA Finals. We don't know who they're actually going to play, but let's just do like a quick preview of either one of those teams. Like OKC, more comfortably, let's just say this goes 7 games, and the winner could be the Knicks or it could be the Pacers. If you are OKC, based on the season that they've had, who would you rather play between those two teams?
I think you would rather play the Knicks, right? Because, frankly, the Knicks don't have the offensive firepower nor the depth to keep up with OKC. Like, the Pacers can score. That's what they've been doing. Like, listen, okay, you have games that end 128, 125. That's a coin flip, right? But if you know you could just listen, we're just going to outscore the Knicks. We're going to drop 130, try and keep up with us. You don't have the depth. You don't have the scoring. You don't have the shooting. It just won't be the Knicks to, like, if they get there, the Knicks will lose in 4, maybe 5 games. But the Pacers could give them trouble. So if you have games that go, again, 128, 125, that comes down to a last shot type of thing. The Pacers can hang with them. Now, I do think OKC are better than the Pacers overall, but that's still not a situation that you want to be in. You want to play the Knicks because you know you can beat them.
So let's talk about game number 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden. The Indiana Pacers, despite being the road underdog, are the team up 3-1 in this series with a potential to close out the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. Vecchio, when you look at game number 5, New York is a 4-point home favorite, a total of 223. Let's start with the numbers to paint the picture for what we can expect with the Knicks season on the brink. How do you expect the flow to look like tonight in game number 5?
I expect the Pacers to continue doing their thing, and it's going to be to push the pace and score. Like, their team total sitting at 109. I think I saw earlier with minus 120 juice to the over. Again, they're going to score. They have been consistently scoring the entire series. They had the one game where they're held to just 100 points. But again, the Knicks don't have the depth. The Knicks don't want to turn this into a barn burner back and forth, and that's what the Pacers want to do. The Pacers want to make them uncomfortable and force them to play fast. The Knicks want to drag them down and make this an ugly game, but they can't. They can't do that. That's what they want to do, but they haven't been successful at it. So I see points. I see the over. I don't want to see the over. I want to see the under, just because that's how I prefer to see games. But ultimately, I think the over will hit, and I think the Pacers team total over 109 is a really great option tonight.
Yeah, take a look at the superstar players in this game and, quite frankly, this series. We expect Jalen Brunson to be a big part of that game tonight. His points prop at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Tom, 30.5 points. You take a look at Tyrese Halliburton, who's been nothing short of sensational. Big shot after big shot, and also an unbelievable performance in the last game. Didn't even turn the basketball over. He's listed at 20.5 points. When you take a look at the top-level guys, Halliburton and Brunson, how do you play these two guys tonight?
You could easily just go to Brunson because you think the volume's going to go there. And if Cat's not healthy, or he's listed as questionable with the knee, leg injury, whatever it is, after that fall at the end of the game, the ball's going to be in Brunson's hands. Surprise, surprise. He's going to take a ton of shots. But frankly, I think the best bet on that would be Halliburton assists. He's going to get everyone else involved. They're going to look to stop him and look to shut him down. He had nearly a triple-double at halftime the other day. So if they look to shut him down, it's like, hey, Nesmith, you don't have to be as amazing as you were the other game one, making 6 threes or whatever it was to end the game. Just make a couple. Be open. Siakam hit some more shots. Miles Turner step out and hit some threes. So the assists from Halliburton is probably the most interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And then when you look at the volume for Jalen Brunson, of course, as well, Vecchio, he has taken at least 20 field goal attempts in 10 of 16 games for the Knicks, but neither of the two on the road in this series in Indianapolis, despite scoring 31 points in game number 4, only 19 field goal tries. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton coming off the historic performance in game number 4, 32 points, 15 dimes, 12 boards, and 0 turnovers. That being the first 35-15 or 30-15-10 and 0 turnover game in NBA playoff history. Let's talk about some of the other guys we expect to have a big night tonight. Vecchio, if you had to highlight one prop that you like above all else in Game 5 tonight in the Garden, what would it be?
Yeah, let's go to Mitchell Robinson over 7.5 rebounds. This was sitting at minus 138. FanDuel does have a boost. You can get it up to, I think it's minus 106 with the boost, somewhere around there. That's where I'm playing it. Listen, if Cat isn't fully healthy, again, list this question with the leg injury, and we've seen Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup. This is what he has to do. Like, okay, get Cat out there. He can provide a little bit of offense. Maybe he's not going to be crashing the boards in every single play, but Mitch Rob has to be out there picking up the extra boards. He also has to stay out of foul trouble, right? 4 fouls, 3 fouls in the past few games. He's obviously in the starting lineup the most recent game, but this is the role that he has to play. Boards, get the rebound, and give it to other players to do the scoring. Yeah, chip in 5, 6, 7 points, whatever it might be. But if Cat can't rebound, they need someone consistently down there against Turner and Siakam. And Mitchell Robinson and then Hart coming off the bench have to be those two options.
You need to have energy off the bench, no doubt about it, for them to survive tonight. If they do survive, let's take a look here at the series betting price. And coming into tonight, no surprise that it's a heavy favor for the road team looking to close out the New York Knicks at home. That's a minus 650 price on the favorites, the Indiana Pacers. The New York Knicks coming in with a plus 480 price. The chances that possibly the Knicks win tonight, but can win Game 6 and also Game 7. Is there any buy-in point for the Knicks for you, or doesn't matter what the price point is on Indiana, you're buying it?
I think if you were just looking at this and you have no action on it, to win in 6 games or to it go 6 total games would be plus 164. I don't mind that. Like if you were like, hey, I just want to see the series get extended, ultimately Indiana win, but I'm not going to lay, the massive juice on Indiana at this point. They win in 6 games, they lose tonight, then they close things out at home. I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the odds right there, one number I find fascinating is despite being a 4-point underdog tonight on the road inside Madison Square Garden, the most likely outcome as the odds makers see it is Indiana in 5 at plus 148, even shorter than the price of the Pacers back home in Indianapolis, clinching this series and a spot in the NBA Finals for the first time in 2.5 decades in 6 games. That's plus 164. We'll have a few more thoughts on game number 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals inside the world's most famous arena a little bit later on. But next up with Tom Vecchio, we hit the ice. The end of the Eastern Conference Final and maybe the end of the Western Conference Final tonight as well.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
And if you go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes, and Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series with a rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We've got two series clinching potentials tonight in the association and on the ice. Same story yesterday, and both were actualized. Of course, OKC winning by 30 at home in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals to earn a spot in the NBA Finals over the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the Florida Panthers continue their Stanley Cup defense with a victory in Game 5 on the road in Raleigh over the Carolina Hurricanes. Tom Vecchio here for a second consecutive segment. Tom, yesterday the Panthers down 2-0 middle way through that second period. They scored 3 straight goals. They never looked back. The Florida Panthers back into the Cup final for not just a second consecutive year, but a third straight year hunting down that second consecutive Stanley Cup. How has Florida built up this playoff pedigree to be one of the best to do it in the National Hockey League in the last few seasons?
Well, shout out to the Panthers. I was on their money line last night. Great come from behind win. Months ago, I talked with Carver on NHL Today saying I didn't expect the Panthers to get this far. Simply going to 3 straight Stanley Cups is unbelievable. And I was wrong about them. You know, they have obviously a great coach with Paul Maurice, and more importantly, it's the system and the depth that they have, and it's the fact that they have players obviously that have fully bought into the system, but they also have players that can play multiple roles, and that's what's important. That's what we saw when Vegas won under Bruce Cassidy. They have players, okay, one day the player's on the second line and he's playing on the power play, the next day he's on the third line playing on the penalty kill. You have these interchangeable parts, and you have players that are willing to do it all. It's not just that they can do it all, they're willing to do the things that are necessary to be done, and they have shown that literally time and time again, this being the third straight year. So credit to them. They are absolutely unbelievable. They have the depth. They have the experience. They have the top-end talent. They check every single box you possibly want.
Advancing into the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, and again, maybe it is really a dynasty that will be looming, but in order for dynasties to continue, they must win Stanley Cups. Looking for another one there for the Panthers. The team that they're going to meet, maybe it is going to be the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to take a look at the game tonight that shifts over to Dallas. A win by Edmonton puts them in the Stanley Cup Finals to go up against the Florida Panthers, but a favorite tonight, Edmonton is not. Open up at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a -125 price here in New Jersey yesterday. The FanDuel Sportsbook now reporting back a -130 price as a favorite towards the Stars. The total in this game opened up at 5.5, still sits at 5.5. Expectations for tonight in Dallas for you, Tom?
I want to play the over 5.5. I'm seeing it juiced to the over right now at -142. I know that's not what you should be expecting, especially in an elimination game potentially, but there's just been too much scoring overall for me to be comfortable with taking the under. And I have a Dallas future. I want them to continue the series, but it's looking pretty grim right now, despite the fact that if you actually look at some of their underlying metrics, Dallas has actually played pretty well, and this leads me into the prop that I like tonight, which would be Stuart Skinner, the goalie for the Oilers, over 24.5 saves. If you actually look at the entire series overall in terms of total shot attempts, Dallas actually leads at 267 to 228. And then when we equate that to expected goals, Dallas is up at 14.58 and Edmonton is at 14.02. So despite the fact that Edmonton has won these games 6-1 and 4-1, Dallas is actually playing really, really well. So their backs are against the wall. Just get some shots on net. Get to Stuart Skinner over 24.5 saves.
It is really interesting to see how the Western Conference Final has played out. The Stars were trailing 3-1 entering the third period of the opening game of this set in Big D. They scored 5 unanswered goals in the third period to win Game 1. From there, it's basically been all Edmonton. It was won 3 consecutive games with a goal-scoring margin of 13-2. Can the Stars turn that around to extend this series and save their season? Vecchio, whether it's tonight that Dallas prolongs the series or we head back above the border to Canada and Edmonton in game number 6, I ask you a simple question. Are the Oilers going to win the Western Conference crown once again?
They are. I don't think it'll get done tonight. I think it'll take one more game, but Edmonton's clearly been the better team. I mean, even in that third period, like if you look at it, they could have won this series 4-0. So Edmonton gets it done in 6 games. They get it done, in a couple days. And then, man, a rematch in the Stanley Cup is what we have on tap.
You take a look, though, Tom, with the Edmonton Oilers, because that's the team I've rooted for this entire season. I just like the brand of play. High-flying, totals in the playoffs routinely around that 6.5 number. They're fun to watch. Zach Hyman being down for the Oilers now throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs is a devastating shot. But if we do look forward to the finals, and it is Edmonton, I don't want to ask you, who's going to win it, but what are some of the matchups and the sort of style of play like? Is one side going to certainly win out, or the depth of the Florida Panthers? What gives?
It's honestly, last year was so close, obviously going 7 games. I seeing minor adjustments from Edmonton of what they struggled with in the first 3 games. They obviously can't be falling down again 3-0. Like the fact that they came back from 3-0 last year was amazing. So I've seen minor adjustments. And again, what I will consistently say is Stuart Skinner's not an elite goalie. He's not as good as Bobrovsky, but the system in front of him is awesome. So if they can maintain that system and they can come away with some minor edges here or there, the coin flips go in their favor in the first 3 games, that's where I think they'll win. And frankly, once the series prices come out, I'll have positions on Edmonton to win in 4-3 or Edmonton to win 4-2. That's where I really think it's going to end up happening. They just can't fall behind that early, or the Panthers will learn from the mistakes that they did in the latter portion of the series and correct those to take care of business early rather than Edmonton coming back.
So the Cup odds right now, Vecchio, the Florida Panthers are a minus money favorite at minus 120. Of course, Edmonton has not sealed the deal out in the Western Conference just yet. Let's assume that happens either tonight or maybe in Game 6 back on home ice. Who do you think would be booked even as the ever so slight favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
I think it'll still be Florida. They'll still have home ice going into it, so I think they'll be a slight favorite. But, if you want to take a shot on Edmonton, I think that's certainly fine. Again, I'll probably have a position on Edmonton. I do, however, have a position on Bobrovsky to win Conn Smythe, and I think that's the bet to make at this point. If you don't want to take Florida, you don't want to take Edmonton, go with Bobrovsky, because again, last year, McDavid won the Conn Smythe. Despite the fact that they lost, he still won the Conn Smythe. So if Florida does repeat this year, they'll probably give it to Bobrovsky at plus 210, far better than minus 120, whatever it is for their current price.
With the Panthers clinching a spot in the Cup final to defend their championship a year ago, Florida has some hypothetical odds out against either of the 2 teams out west right now, and Vecchio is correct. The Panthers would be, at least based on the odds at this current moment, an ever so slight minus 115 outright favorite to win the Stanley Cup over the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton at minus 104. Sergei Bobrovsky, second best price, though, to win the Conn Smythe. Playoff Bob at plus 210. Connor McDavid is that short favorite at plus 175. TV, Tom, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for being here on this Thursday.
Thanks for having me. I'll be in studio Saturday and then Sunday, pro baseball today with Donnie.
In studio.
Studio on
yeah,
Sunday.
let's do it. Let's do it.
There's a comma in there.
Oh, comma.
He's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Look, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
And if you go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I already heard yesterday that he's got no shot to win the Cy Young because it's going to Skubal again. Skubal's winning the Cy Young. No shot for free.
They're both terrific. They both have incredible numbers and credentials and stats and strikeouts and ERA and everything. Like every single category. Fried is right there with him.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Closing out this special edition on a Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid in person in studio. Our final segment, one final look at game number 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Pacers. Will Indiana clinch a spot in the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000 when they also beat the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals? That in 6 games, this could be in the old gentleman's sweep. Or will the Knicks extend this series, saving their season and forcing that 6th game back in Indianapolis on Saturday night? DRS, one final breakdown of this before we get to a best bet of all the bets on this Thursday. The Knicks, a 4-point home favorite. The total stands at 223. What do you think happens tonight? Are the Knicks, as a home favorite, going to keep their season afloat?
Get ready for Saturday night, game number 6, back in Indiana, and then Indiana will close out the New York Knicks in that game. I expect a great effort from the Knicks tonight, and if it's not a great effort, changes will be made. So just looking at the point spread, it's -4. If I think the Knicks are going to win this game, of course, I'm going to bet the -4. Oh, I think the Knicks win, but just not by 4. Ridiculous. Then you might as well just take money line on the Indiana Pacers at this point. For me, I think the Knicks win this game in the Garden at home and start this game off with, look, you can't be down 5 or 10 points at the break for the Knicks and expect a huge comeback in the second half. Take hold of this game, and it's Jalen Brunson's job to do that. Knicks win tonight. That's my expectation.
I'm not so sure. I kind of lean with the money line for the Indiana Pacers. Just my thought. I think the balance and depth for Indiana is a little bit underestimated here, at least in terms of this overall postseason run, and maybe even into the NBA Finals. I will say, if you agree with DRS, though, and this is how you think the series plays out, the Knicks win at home tonight. They lay 4.5. They cover that number. Plus 164 for Indiana to win this series in 6 games back on their own home floor would be a way I would look as well in the series correct score odds, because the Pacers, even if it's not by 5 or 6 points, will be at least a slight home favorite in a potential Game 6 in Indy on Saturday night. We've talked Tyrese Halliburton after his masterful and historic performance in Game 4. Jalen Brunson scored 31. His points prop tonight, 30.5. If they are going to survive DRS in this elimination format, Brunson a big key. But let's talk the secondary options. Karl Anthony Towns listed as questionable. I think we all expect him to play tonight. His points prop, 20.5. On the other side, Pascal Siakam also had 30 in Game 4 for Indiana. His points prop tonight, 20.5. Of those secondary figures tonight, DRS, in this crucial Game 5, who gets your attention first and foremost?
It's really hard for me to gauge the Pacers because they're so complete that on any given night, somebody can drop 30 points. You said, well, okay, you'll always be in it. I understand that. But if Karl Anthony Towns is in this game tonight and he's banged up a little bit, he's 21.5. You know, Neesmith, and again, you have to wait till later in the day. If you show up tonight and you watch the pregame, like, well, Karl Anthony Towns is moving fine, then wipe it off the board. But if he's somewhat injured here and you're going to get a price point of 21.5, I do lean towards the under. But also, if another guy that loves to shoot the basketball, he's going to shoot it no matter what, you know where I'm going. It's Mikal Bridges. You take a look at him. If he gets hot, and he can, 16.5 points, because I love Brunson tonight. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But if I'm just looking for a secondary option for the Knicks, if Towns is a little bit banged up, that's 20 possible shot attempts that you might get out of Mikal Bridges.
Some late threes for Mikal Bridges pushed him to 17 points in Game 4, despite not a great game early on. OG Anunoby, exactly 16 points in the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference Finals. 22, albeit in a loss in Game number 4. I look at Pascal Siakam for those guys. His points prop on the rise, but he has scored at least 17 in all 4 games in this series. 30-plus now in 2 of the 4. Cat has been his primary defender. If he's a little bit banged up, maybe not moving all that well on the perimeter, where Siakam has taken advantage throughout this set to begin. But before we go, it's a best bet of them all. Time now for Bye, Bye, Bye. DRS, for all of these games, for everything in action on this Thursday, what is the best bet?
How about a 3-pack tonight? Let's give the people something for the ride home today. Number 1, it's going to be the Philadelphia Phillies in game number 2, under 7.5 runs. Number 2, I told you already, the Tampa Bay Rays getting over 3.5 runs scored against the Houston Astros with my guy Gusto on the mound. And number 3, I've been saying it all. I got to put my money where my mouth is. Over 30.5 points, Jalen Brunson tonight. He shoots 25-plus times tonight. We're getting that.
I think the Pacers clinch this in 5 games inside Madison Square Garden. As DRS mentioned, if I believe Indiana is the right side in what could be a series clinching game, I don't really need the +4. I'll just take them at plus 148 on the money line. And really just from a handicapping perspective of seeing what we saw yesterday, not a lot of public love on the under for Game 5 in Oklahoma City that stayed under. Maybe looking at the under of 223, now on the rise by more than 3 points from 219 in a hook that sailed well over in game number 4. We'll round out this week on a Friday on the early line starting tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern here on SportsGrid.